This is interesting. I reckon I've done stories on this before, but some promising results with a new trial, some details of a new drug that is helping those who have suffered a stroke. Some are labelling it a game changer. I'm going to bring you details on that in just a moment. A little later, I'm going to have a chat to Ben Lee. Now, he's in town, great musician, great singer-songwriter, love his stuff. 20 years ago, he released an album called Awake is the New Sleep, really kind of changed the course of his career. Here's a taste.
Your kiss comes in dress smart, you offer a la carte, you didn't have the heart, and I wanted to be embraced.
Yeah, so that's Ben Lee. It's a great album. He's had a magnificent career. He always looked young, Ben. Thankfully, I reckon he looked about 12 when that album came out, but that was 20 years ago. He is now touring it. He is playing it from start to finish, which I think is something pretty special when you get to hear an album live that way. It's happening tonight at the Freo Arts Centre, so get along, if you're keen or if you're down that way. But I'll have a chat to Ben Lee a little later today. Might ask him about his reflections of that time of his career as well. And after 9:30 today, Brendan Ptolemy's going to be in the studio talking real estate. A bit to get into. He's got an interesting look off the back of local government elections today with the heavy lifting or not so heavy lifting on the supply side around different councils in Perth. But his sale of the week tells a really interesting story. Really is the one of the Perth market over the last few years. A bumper increase, a bumper profit recorded for one buyer who became a seller in just a short period of a few months. So that will be the sale of the week. Brendan will have the details for you shortly. Remember, with Brendan, you can always get a call in early too. So if you've got a question around property, real estate, you can give us a call now and you'll be first up. Out of 9:30 today, 133 882. Now, some are calling this a holy grail drug. It is a journey when it comes to this stuff, but developed here in WA, this drug's helping stroke patients, helping increase the cognition, quality of life post-stroke. It can be a really tough time, and there's been, I suppose, a trial that we've heard about before, some new results coming through, plenty of work happening out at Sir Charles Gardner Hospital and Fiona Stanley as well. So worth taking a look at this. Dr. Liz Dallimore is the Managing Director and CEO of Argenica Therapeutics. Good morning, Liz.
Good morning, Jamie. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, tell me about these results. What's excited you?
Yeah, look, these results come off the back of phase 2 clinical trial. So this is sort of the midway point of clinical development. As you mentioned in the intro, it can take a long time to get these drugs to market. So we have to go through a pretty rigorous clinical trial process. So this clinical trial involved dosing patients coming into emergency department across 10 emergency departments across Australia. So as you mentioned, Fiona Stanley and Charlie's here in Perth, dosing patients with our drug or a saline placebo and just looking at the difference. And so when we uncovered the data, we looked at the data at the end of the trial, we saw some really encouraging results around the drug being able to protect stroke patients in terms of their cognitive impairment. So often stroke patients, one of the main things that they say that really affects them post-stroke is this kind of foggy brain, this challenge with that sort of executive thinking and cognition. So we saw a 23% improvement in cognition based when patients received our drug versus the placebo group, and also a significant improvement in the ability just to perform daily tasks, which again is another key issue post-stroke. So really encouraging data from this trial.
Yeah, absolutely. So how does it work? How is this drug almost, I suppose, protecting the brain post-stroke against those effects?
Yeah, so we're delivering the drug via an intravenous infusion when the patient comes into the emergency department. So these are patients that have had what we call large vessel occlusion, so a clot in one of the larger vessels in the brain. So really focusing on these bigger types of strokes where those functional outcomes are more detrimental to those patients. So it's just a single IV infusion, and then those patients go in to have a procedure where that clot is actually sucked out of that large vessel in the brain, and then we follow them for 90 days. The way the drug is working is it's protecting the brain cells essentially from all the things that happen as a result of that clot being lodged in that blood vessel. So works in a number of different ways, but really essentially protecting all those brain cells from that follow-on brain cell death after the stroke.
In talking about after a stroke, how critical is I suppose time to be able to have a drug like this, or just the response in general?
Yeah, look, we know that in stroke patients, time is brain. What is actually starting to emerge is that you do get some fast progressing strokes, so people that do seem to progress a lot quicker, and some that progress slower. So, and this has to do with what we call collateral blood flow in the brain. So some patients just have better sort of smaller blood vessels that surround that area of where the stroke has happened, and they tend to progress sort of slower, so they have better chance of better functional outcomes, getting to the hospital with enough time to get those treatments. Whereas the fast progressors, they go quite quickly and they tend to have worse outcomes. And so what our trial showed is we're actually able to reduce brain injury by 15% in those fast progressing strokes. So those people that do have the worst outcomes and where a neuroprotective drug like ARG-007 is most critical.
How does conducting a trial like this work? Because, you know, people don't know that they're going to have a stroke, and depending on the condition that they're in when they get to hospital and things like that, have you been able to navigate that?
Yeah, look, it's it all comes down to essentially consent and the amazing neurologists and clinical trial staff that we have within each of the emergency departments that are part of the trial. So when a patient comes in, they usually come in with a loved one, a next of kin. So we do need to seek consent from that person to have that person involved in the trial.
All right, it is a long journey, as you said off the top. What's next here?
Yeah, so the next stage is to really confirm these results in a larger trial. So that's what we call sort of a phase 2B trial. So we will just tweak some of the trial to give the drug the best chance of success. So we've now got a huge data set, really rich data, where we can really hone in on where the drug is working best and bring in more patients, do bigger sort of sample size, and really confirm that these results are real and are meaningful. Once we do that, that'll essentially be what we call a pivotal trial, which will lead into our registrational trial, which is the final stage to get the drug approved and on the market, and really helping stroke patients where there is no neuroprotective drug available to them at the moment.
Yeah. So if all that continues on the trends that we've seen here, what's the timeline that you're mapping out before we might see this as something that's readily available?
Yeah, so these sorts of trials can actually be done reasonably quickly. We anticipate the 2B trial would take a couple of years. There is unfortunately no shortage of stroke patients, so as long as we have the money to bring on as many sites as we can, we'll do it not only in Australia but bring on sites in, say, the US, China, potentially look to Europe as well. So it can be done reasonably quickly. So we're sort of hoping at least in the next sort of 5 to 10 years this drug will be on the market.
Just outside of, I suppose, the medical side of this, as a business that's in this space and developing a drug like this, what's it like doing that out of Western Australia? Does that present certain challenges, or are things set up here to be able to progress and move towards something on an international scale?
Yeah, look, I mean, biotech is international, right? So it's, we do run a global business. We deal with global partners all over the world. So, and doing business online these days is very easy. So, for me as a West Australian girl, a girl brought up in Perth, I don't want to move Argenica. I am on a plane a lot, but we can do this business from here. And I just think for WA to support, different industries, particular in biotech and science, I think is really important for Western Australia. So, leading a biotech business in Perth, I want to keep it here. Yeah. And there are some challenges, but, you know, it's such a great place to live and do business. And